if you are joining us to dig deeper, today I have Andrew Painchaud, who is my husband, new business partner, and one of my favorite people. So, hi. Thank you for coming back after our Let's Talk More on Monday podcast, where we talked about marriage and how combining lives has combined our goals and shifted our mindsets a bit as we've looked at the futures we want to build, the business we're building together, and everything in between. So, thanks for coming back on.
I'm glad I got asked back after the commercial break. I wasn't sure about that after the first one, but yeah, that was fun. It was a good talk, and it's one of those things where if you talk through it, um, it kind of makes you really think about your whys and everything like that as you're explaining it. So I kind of enjoyed getting to do that, and did a little mini reflection, I guess, while I was talking to myself. So
I know.
hopefully the words came out straight.
Oh, they were great. And I also felt like I did hear some different things. I mean, we've been talking about it so much lately, it being January, end of the year, beginning of the year. And as we've started jumping into a lot of this goal setting together, I think a lot of it has prompted, and we've had to preface with harder conversations or conversations that we didn't anticipate on having, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think something that I would love to dig deeper on today is maybe some of those topics and how we initiated them. I think we mentioned it before. Money is the biggest stressor. It's like the number one reason for divorce. It's something not a lot of people want to talk about, especially with the person that you want to be your best self with and all of those things. I think as we look at a lot of the things that we want to accomplish and do together and build in this life, a lot of that requires us to have the finances to do it. And so I would love, maybe, if can you remember the first time we had a money talk that related to some of our goals?
Probably you were wondering why I was looking at a computer for so long in our early days of dating and stuff like that, and you would see these funny symbols and colors on some type of graph, and
Yeah,
just confused why I was probably spending too much time back then on them.
maybe.
But it was enough to get you to ask what it was, and um, gosh, that must have been at least 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, of our
Yeah.
9 years knowing each other, and
Mhm.
most of those dating and most of those living together now too.
Mhm.
But I guess my mom had always talked about, well, not always talked about, but I was curious about things like investing and planning and stuff like that. And my mom was always really good with numbers and finances. Being an entrepreneur, she started, she was her own um, one man band in her business, so she had to be good at it out of necessity. But probably did most of the family's finances too, bill paying and being organized and staying on top of that. And um, I just learned a while back, even if I didn't apply it to my own life for a while, I just learned that planning for finances is paramount to, any conversation you want to have about money. It's always gonna be stressful to a degree, but it's if you confront it and kind of face it head on and say, well, so what's the plan to move forward on this? It makes it a little less stressful. You probably were asking me about what I was doing, and
Mhm.
and all that stuff, and I was, even if I wanted to seem like I knew what I was doing back then, I really didn't. So I've learned a lot along the way, and I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things you can do is start the conversation as early as possible,
Mhm.
because I didn't have this wealth of knowledge. Maybe to you, maybe it seemed like I knew what I was doing. Probably didn't. I don't lie that well, but I would like to think I was at least off the starting block at that point,
Yeah.
personally. And I'm sure you can remember trying to pull you on there with me
Mhm.
onto that track of investing and starting, and again, I think just the biggest thing is to have that conversation with that other person as early as possible, because it is uncomfortable and it's not great, because
Yeah.
when you're just going out and doing Taco Bell date nights and things like that, money's really not that big of an issue. You feel like
Right.
you're having a great time with, $20 in your account, so it's not as big of a deal back then. But
Yeah.
again, year after year, and you keep hitting milestones in a
Oh yeah.
relationship, and then things like getting married. It's one of those things where I feel like if you don't have these open conversations and kind of get serious about it for a moment, um, it's something that, yeah, it can sneak up on you. And